Look, I'm gonna be the one to say it. Just because you have one good conversation with your homies, that does not mean that you need to start a podcast.
And the big catalyst of this conversation right here is the Hawk to a girl. First of all, the joke was never funny. Like, that joke was like so serious. It wasn't even funny. Now she got a podcast. Now she's making like 10 M's for a podcast that should have never happened of a joke that never was funny.
I'm tired of dudes talking about aliens once, then thinking that they have the right to buy a Shure SM7B from Best Buy. Now they got a podcast called Alien Talks that's just uninteresting and dry. The host sucks, the friends suck, and even the podcast name sucks. You're not the next Joe Rogan, bro.
Alien
Put the mic
Talks.
down and put the fries in the
you
bag.
only gonna talk
Someone's
about
gotta
aliens?
say it. Remember that one relative that told you that you weren't making it to the NBA when you were like 5 years old? Just think of me as that. Hey, everyone needs a little bit of tough love in their life. Not everyone can be nice in this world. And I'm gonna be the boogeyman here
I'll learn
saying
from
how
experience.
your podcast sucks and your friend.
Man, when I was legit, I wanted to go to the NBA so bad, bro. Until I started getting dropped off and I was like, maybe this ain't for me. Maybe I can't be Michael Jordan. Maybe I can't
Friends
fly.
are boring. Maybe you should think twice before you take that trip to Best Buy. See, the problem is that this world is way too nice now. And now we have podcast clips of dudes talking about how they want their mothers to have good sexual experiences.
What?
Because I love
Their
my
mom?
mom. I
Yeah.
want her to come. I don't know if this is weird to say, but I want my mom to have flawless experiences.
How do you not know if that's
What are
weird to
these
say?
podcasts
Like,
talking
oh my
about?
gosh, I want my mom to have great sexual experience. That is weird.
I want you to have that.
Yeah,
too.
and I want you to have that as well.
So it's like,
Is that weird to say?
really, like
Yes.
I genuinely want my mom to be getting down good.
I'm gonna give you some tough love right here. You know, this is gonna be the toughest love that you've ever felt. This love is gonna be tougher than a well-done steak. You need to stop podcasting, bro. I'm sorry. Never in my life.
Look, there's many different genres of the internet, man. Be a streamer like me. Or just make YouTube videos, you know what I'm saying? Or do both like me. You stream, and then you turn that stream into some videos. And then some TikToks, you know what I'm saying? Not everybody could be a podcaster. You feel what I'm saying? Because you can't just get on the internet on a podcast and call yourself a podcaster and talk about some nonsense.
Have
Like,
I
what was
ever
that?
thought about my mom having good sexual experiences? Y'all are just odd human beings. What
Very
even sparks
odd.
this conversation? Like, how do you even get to this point? And why was this video even uploaded to the masses, bro? We need to start telling people no more often. You know what, man? I'm thinking about starting a podcast.
No!
Put the mic down. At this point, it needs to be easier to buy an RPG from a gun store than it is to buy a microphone from Best Buy.
Yeah, I
because
did
I
see some
promise
of the
you, if there were
RPG.
background checks for mics, we would be nowhere near this point. It feels like everyone has a podcast nowadays. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. NBA players, rappers, children. The Hawk to a girl just started a podcast
Wait, what
called
you gonna
Talk
talk
to
about,
Her.
school?
Don't get me wrong. Shout out to her for running up a bag off that one phrase, you know? I saw that she got 30K for popping out to a club a few weeks ago. Like, kudos to her, you know? I'ma clap it up for her. But why would I want to hear that woman speak for 2 hours straight each week about current events in her life? I mean, for
That's what the
crying
news
out
is
loud,
for.
she got famous for talking about how she spits on the pee-pee. Why am I supposed to care about what this woman has to say? Does she really need a podcast for saying
No.
and spit on that thing. You get me?
the world could go
You get
without a
me?
podcast from this woman? You know what? Maybe I'm just hating. You know, maybe why don't I just check out one episode?
Can't do it.
Bro, there's a difference between hating and telling somebody the reality. It's not hating from me calling her podcast trash because it's true. There's a difference between hate and the truth. I said her podcast was trash. Am I hating? Absolutely not. It's true. It's
Do it.
bad.
Do it. You do it.
No, you do it.
Hot to.
There
You gotta put like an emphasis on it, like to, you know, like really. Yeah, say it. All right, all together.
Hot to.
Hot
To. Hot to.
Say it aggressive, like
Hot
really.
to.
Bro, get this off my screen.
After watching one episode of the Talk to a podcast, I wanted to announce that I am quitting YouTube and becoming a full-time neurosurgeon, astronaut, and monk, all because of this podcast. This is one of the most enlightening podcasts that I have ever watched, and I just wanted to say thank you, Hawk to a Girl, for opening my third eye and helping me evolve as a human being with your phenomenal podcast. I really appreciate you. All jokes aside,
It
no
helped me
hate to
so
her.
much, bro.
She's just capitalizing off her
Bro, I watched her podcast one time and I got a 1,400 on our SAT. Let's get a round of applause for Haley Welch up in here, man.
Opportunity like any other human being would in her position. But overall, I just don't think there's anything really interesting about this woman that sets her apart from all these other podcasts out there. Yeah, she may be able to get some great guests on there because the podcast is connected to Better, which is a sports media company co-owned by Jake Paul. But at the end of the day, like, the guests can only carry her so far, you know? Like I said, there's not much interesting about this woman. She got famous for saying how she spits on the nutsack, you feel me? But like I said, she's just capitalizing off of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Podcasts, after all, aren't the hardest thing to do. Podcasting is one of those things that I believe is easy to start but hard to master. The bare minimum is to get a few mics, sit down with some friends, record, chat for a little bit, and boom, you got a podcast. Like,
my bad for pausing too much, but like, those mics are expensive though. This, I got it on sale when it was at $80. Those are $200 minimum. $200. So she went to Best Buy and bought like four of those. Do 4 times 2. So like over $1,000, buddy, for some mics to talk about spitting on schmoinkas.
it's not that hard. And if you already have an audience, it makes creating a podcast even easier. Because if the audience you've garnered cares to watch you for like maybe a few seconds or a few minutes each day, they'll for sure listen to you talk for about 2 hours each week. So it makes sense to why so many people are starting podcasts nowadays. But like the title says, not everyone needs one. While some of them are good, some just feel like people talking just to talk. Like, I wouldn't even call some people's podcast a podcast. I'd rather call it mic terrorism. The other day, I saw a podcast clip of two dudes talking about lefty loosey, righty tighty being the greatest invention of all time.
Lefty loosey, righty tighty is the craziest invention of man. I use that all the time. The saying lefty loosey, righty tighty. We just got a new machine. It's like it's called an articulating log loader.
Yeah, what?
It sounds like my toilet paper.
Yeah.
There's forks like this that picks up a log and then it can open and close on it, and the left button opens it and the right button closes it. And I literally say to myself, I'm like, lefty loosey, righty tighty when I need to let go or grab on. It's the lefty loosey. I might get that tattooed on myself.
Like, no offense to these two dudes at all, because they're probably great people. I could probably sit down, chop it up with them, eat a steak, and just vibe out with these dudes. But there's got to be something way more interesting to talk about than a saying used for when you're screwing something in. Like, what's next? Are we going to talk about bunny ears being the best method to tie your shoes? Or maybe even schist being the best rock there is? This conversation just feels so bland and pointless. Like, if an alien were to imagine two human beings talking, I'm pretty sure it'd think of this AI generated ass convo right here. Like, this is the product of podcasts being so easy to start up. We now have dudes talking about screwing mechanisms as a topic of interest. Like, I don't think every conversation has to be important in a podcast, but there's no way that these dudes copped some premium podcast mics, got the setup and everything just to talk about lefty loosey, righty tight. This podcast just has no meaning at all. It's just yip and yap going back and forth about nothing. I swear these podcasts just get worse and worse, bro. Like, there's just too many podcasts now, and what more is there really to talk about? We gotta sit here and like just think for a second. What more is there really to talk about? Instead of having to get a degree for a job, people need to start getting a degree for a podcast. Like,
bro, people nowadays would do anything other than get a job. Bro, there's McDonald's all over the world hiring, bro, but you would rather get on a podcast talking about spitting on schmoinkas or talking about lefty loosey righty tighty? There's a QT right down the street. It needs some more people. They're hiring. Go.
Let's just be real. Like, is there really a need for a podcast where frat dudes talk about Hawk Tua?
Bro, I don't know if you heard of the Hawk Tua girl.
Yeah.
Who hasn't?
Hawk Tua. Spit on that thing.
Bro, that blew out of proportion. Like, I low-key think it got too big.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I've seen the clip, but
Good
for her, I guess. I don't know.
No, like, it's everywhere. Dude, even at, like, Old Town, you'll hear Hawk Tua remixes.
Really?
Yes.
Bro, I think it's crazy that you can, like, do one little thing and a clip can go viral and then all of a sudden the next day you're, like, a celebrity. You know what I mean? Like, That's crazy.
Yo, this guy in the comment section even gets it. This man said podcast equipment should cost $1 billion. I totally
bro,
agree.
'cause
I'm
you
not
just
gonna lie,
give
like
it
no
out to
offense to
people who
these
don't
dudes,
need it.
probably some great people, but I'd rather drag my balls through the hot Sahara desert than listen to these frat dudes talk for 2 hours straight. You best believe I'm serving a life sentence before I listen to Jimmy and Tom from the Beta Theta Sigma frat talk on a podcast for 2
frat?
hours. Like, this podcast is just
What
drier
is a
than a
Sigma
Popeye's biscuit.
frat?
There is no energy at all to this conversation. And you may be thinking, like, bro, you can't judge off of just one clip of the podcast, you know? This is every clip.
What is your favorite frat?
I don't know. I like how big SAE's parties are and like
Yeah.
Lambda, but like I
That mic
think
sucks.
ASIG just threw
How
a
you got the
really
good
cool
mic? She got
party.
the
Oh,
bad
I heard, dude.
Yeah,
Kyle was just on it. He's an ASIG.
yeah. It was a
That's
really
dope.
good party.
This podcast just
What is
sucks.
an ASIC?
This convo just sounds so
Alpha
generic
Sigma?
and bland. No energy at all. Just, what's your favorite frat? I like SAA. They're big. Oh my god, I heard Kyle's there. Like, get this off the airways, bruh. Like, what did Joe Budden say?
That shit is a 2-pack of ass.
I genuinely wish I could take
Hey.
back the few seconds of my life
Hey.
I wasted watching that podcast clip, because now I just feel 10x dumber than what I was before. I feel like one of the keys to a great podcast is an entertaining host, because there's gonna be boring parts to a podcast, and it's up to the host to make that podcast interesting when it's getting dry. But the problem with this podcast is that the host has the personality of a raw chicken wing. So when he talks about boring topics and he's also boring, that just makes the podcast 10 times more boring. Another problem with everyone starting a podcast is that some people don't believe that they need to do proper research before they record. Like, a little
Like, you can't just get on a podcast and just talk about some random stuff that just come off the top of your mind, because that's not quality content. And when where do they even get these people from? It looks like they do be snagging people off the street. Hey, you want to be a part of my podcast? Yeah, here, just come here at 12 o'clock tomorrow. Like, where are they getting these people from? Because I've never seen these people in my life. So, like, though, I thought the whole part of a podcast was to get, like, celebrities and talk to celebrities about their lives and stuff, not just grabbing random people off the street talking about some Hawk Tour.
bit ago on Twitch, there was this streamer named Jason the Ween who hit 100,000 subscribers. You know, he was number 2 on Twitch for his amount of subscribers in that month. And then there was this shitty TikTok podcast called the 949 podcast that decided to give their opinion on the whole situation. And no,
Like, we
they're not really
care.
knowledgeable when it comes to this whole streaming space.
Like,
So
who
this was
are
their take.
you?
Streaming is the new wave. It's
It
because
is.
Yeah.
it's just. But the thing is, it's the new wave because of clips.
Exactly.
Like Jason the Ween, he guess how many live viewers he has. Just guess.
Depends on the time.
Just guess.
Like
you guys
5K?
guess. Well, how many live viewers do you
Cap.
think?
I literally was scrolling on Twitch and I seen this boy at 20K. I don't think he ever had, like, currently a consistent just 5K. It's never just been as low as 5K. I literally just seen him with 20K. What are you talking about? See, you speaking on stuff that you don't know about. Like, how you gonna go on a podcast and don't research the stuff that you're talking about?
He got
Like 3K?
3K. So like he's like a number 2, or I guess like, well, he has like around 15 to 20.
Oh.
See?
Oh,
You know what
wow.
I'm saying?
That's
But
pretty
But the
good.
thing about it, like, that's not that good in terms of like views.
Huh?
That's true,
I feel
but
like it's
live,
good for
live.
live.
That's great. 20K views on a stream? I wish I had 20K. I got 0. I wish I had 20K. And you talking about it's not that good. Oh, Castanet had 100K on his stream last night. But it's not that good. You just seem like a hater. I would kill to be in Jason's position right now, but I gotta work up to that. But you just seem like a hater, my boy.
Live.
That's what I'm saying. It's good for live, but think about the people in the world. It's only 15K.
15K,
So
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Streaming is not like a mainstream thing
Big,
yet.
big,
It's only
yeah.
mainstream because of the clip.
Hold on. We're gonna see.
Look, I'm gonna be the one to
We're
say
gonna
it.
see. Jason the Ween, right? 300K on YouTube. So he's getting 20K live viewers. These are live viewers. 300K. He posted it 2 weeks ago. 18K. He posted 17 hours ago. That is good. By like 2 weeks from now, it's gonna be at 66K. That's still good. That's still revenue coming to your pockets. So you just chatting, my boy. You
That's what they
chatting.
put out after.
Yeah,
Which
right.
get millions and millions of views.
Right.
But no one's actually watching that shit live.
Yeah.
Yes, they
yeah,
are.
no,
20K
literally,
is a lot of people.
There's a few things that piss me off about this Dookie TikTok podcast. Number one, this man is saying streaming is only big because of
20K
clips.
is
Yeah,
like two
because
high
nobody's
schools
gonna
worth
sit
of
there
people.
and watch an 8-hour stream front to back. You fucking idiot. So to make it more digestible
like
for
3.
the average viewer, streamers and their audiences make clips so that more people can see their streams. What's so bad about that? Another thing this man says is 15K live viewers
farming has
isn't
been
good views
forever.
because the clips get millions of views. That's how the internet works. And 15K is good because it puts him in the top 0.1% of streamers. Like, why is
Bro,
it so
clipping has been the meta since streaming was a thing. How do you think your rage got popular, or how you think your rage started out? He started out from getting clips from other streamers. Like his thing was called Flight's Rage, right? Because he took Flight's clips of him raging and he posted for a video. So clip farming has always been a thing. Clip farming is not bad. It's just you trying to get your clips. Come on now. I could stand up and fart in the mic and it's gonna blow up. But am I gonna do that? No.
surprising that a live stream
might.
has less views than a TikTok video? Are we becoming this slow in society where we can't comprehend that a live stream that you have to watch live has less views than a video where you can watch whenever? This dude
Right,
knows
come on,
nothing
bro.
about what he's
So
talking
stupid.
about. He's just saying a hot take because he has a mic in his face with the cameras on. This podcast just sounds like one huge
Hot
gossip
takes don't
session.
get
That's
you
the problem
views,
with
buddy.
a lot of these podcasts. Some of them are just gossip sessions. Another situation
takes
of
do
a
not get
podcast
views.
host not knowing what they're talking about is this one right here. So a little bit ago, there was a situation with Kai Cenat, right? He had a cameraman that was talking to an underage girl, and this podcast decided to put out their take on it because, hey,
Like
it was
we
a
give a
fresh
fuck.
topic. Why don't we say something about it, you know? Why don't we do it for the clicks and engagement? And this is what they had to say.
Kai Cenat, everybody can't go.
This
You
the
need to
fucked up
start
part.
looking
Last name.
around. And I know, like, black people specifically, when you get some success, you want to bring everybody with you. But you got to be able to kind of weed that shit out. I should have known who Chris V is. I should have known who Chris Next Door is.
But Chris Next
Chris
Door
Next
is
Door,
literally
he's
an
AMP.
AMP member. What do you
What?
mean that you shouldn't know who he is?
I should know
He
who Kai
literally
Cenat
was
is
the
because
editor
you
of
are
AMP
the
for a
driving
bit.
force in it. But them
For a
I shouldn't
long
even know who
bit.
they are.
I think it's important to highlight that Chris Next
He
Door
edited
is
for
an AMP
Illuminati.
member. If you guys don't know what AMP is, that is Kai Cenat's group.
That's the problem. Kai Cenat shouldn't have a group.
Kai Cenat joined the group before he
Kai
became
Cenat.
this huge mega
Cenat.
streaming machine. This dude knows nothing about what he's talking about. He's just saying a hot
Absolutely
take
nothing.
because he's on a podcast.
That's how they got on.
It's
Making
Cenat.
with your team is very important, but if they're problematic people in there, kick them out immediately.
But
yes.
you gotta know when you are the one, like he is the one. I get it.
So he should
cool.
abandon everybody?
Yes.
He did not do this alone. Like, there was a journey of a camp of
They
them.
came together.
And I agree, like, this problematic person, this person that was underage girls, he has to go. He, like, by...
And like people are saying, "Oh, Kai Cenat should let these people go. Kai Cenat should let these well." First of all, Kai Cenat was the last person to join AMP. People do not do their research. Kai Cenat was the last person to join AMP. Chris was an AMP before Kai Cenat. Kai Cenat, one video they had him labeled as a trainee. He was the last person to join AMP. So how is he gonna leave them behind? How's he gonna leave them behind if he was the last person to join it? Huh? Come on, bro. And Chris V, there's no excuse for what Chris V did, but they already let him go. He's no longer a cameraman for AMP. They let him go. But yeah, do your research before you start a podcast or even do anything. Do your research before you want to talk on something.
We're never speaking to you. Cut ties.
Now that we are here, and it's the second, third, however many times something like this has happened, what does he do moving forward? Because now it can't keep happening. You have to insulate yourself because at the end of the day, that group doesn't mean anything without him.
That is cap. Because everyone actually grew themselves before they were in AMP. That's
Bro,
why it works so.
They had every channel in AMP had over 1 million before they even joined AMP. Like, come on, bro. What is you talking about? Well, they not 1 million, but like they had like 800K before they even like started AMP. Like, come on, bro. What is you talking about, bro?
Well as a group because
was
everyone
well
had
off
their own
before even
platform
AMP.
before joining, except for Chris. He kind of
AMP
created his
just
platform
boosted it up.
after, but he was still pretty known. But this guy just knows nothing about what he's talking about, and this is my problem with so many of these podcasts. Like, if you're gonna put out a statement on any current topic, you got to do the research to back it up. You're gonna end up looking like an idiot. You can't just go in willy-nilly on something that you know nothing about. That's why a lot of bigger podcasts like Joe Rogan have someone who can fact check, which is Jamie on his podcast. And if you can't afford someone to be in that spot, you should just look it up yourself before you put out this idiotic.
My bad for pausing again. My bad. I paused too much. Every podcast and radio station has the main speaker and either one or two fact checkers. Look at Shade 45. They have the main dude, Sway, and they have two fact checkers. Right? The Breakfast Club. They got the main dude, and then they got two fact checkers. Come on, bro.
Take on something you know nothing about. Like, there's a difference between a hot take and just a bad
These
and
podcasts
uneducated
don't have
take.
any
And this right
fact
here
checkers.
is
They
what I
just
consider
speaking
an
whatever they wanna
uneducated take because he just lacks the knowledge on what he's talking about. I like how some people on the podcast are like trying to tell him like, yo, it's not like this, it's kind of like this, but he just doesn't want to listen. He just decides to be ignorant. I swear some people just get a mic in their face and their brains just go to mush. They don't know what they're talking about. I seen a dude the other day talking about how you need to stop wearing Nike socks with shoes for no reason at all, just because he said so.
Stop wearing Nike socks with shoes, bro, or a designer shoe. Even if you wear Nike socks with some Air Force Ones, just stop doing that, bro. I'm sorry, bro. I just can't see nobody wear no Nike socks.
Look at his face. Look at his face. Like a clip farming. Clip farming. You cannot clip farm with stuff like this. Because they're going to see you as a dumbass and they're not going to watch you again. This is the thing. Have clip farming and having people stay to watch your stuff or click on your stuff to watch your stuff. Then this nigga right here. They going to watch your stuff. Man, you think you can't wear Nike socks with shoes? That's the stupidest thing I heard. You a dumbass. I'm not clicking on your shit again.
With a pair of shoes, bro.
This nigga's never going to
Like,
see the
what
light
are you
day again.
doing? I think that's crazy.
What do your socks have to do with anything
who
on your
is this
fit?
dude?
I understand if somebody says stop wearing a Nike shirt with Adidas pants, like that does kind of make sense. But
Like,
stop
bro.
wearing Nike socks with shoes? Why? Why don't you tell us why? Why? I think people
you
gotta
wear
realize
if
it's
you wear
fine to have
shoes without socks
conversations
anyway,
without
you're a
them being
monster. Get
recorded,
outta
You
here.
know, we need
You're
to
a
start
monster.
stripping
Get out.
cameras and microphones away from society. Everyone has a voice, but not everyone's voice needs
I
to
be
be
telling some
heard.
people
And this
that,
is a
bro.
video about podcasts.
Shoes
There's another
without
thing I gotta get
socks
on my
is
chest, bro.
devious
Alpha
work.
male podcast. This podcast format honestly just needs to
Oh, I'm
retire,
tired of
bro.
this
Like when I
stuff,
tell
bro.
you,
I'm
these
tired of
podcasts are one of the worst things to ever hit the internet because after these podcasts hit, all people would argue about is who was worse, women or men. I hate this whole argument
Bro,
because can we all just
come on.
agree that men do bad things and so do women? Men lie and women lie. Are we done now? Like, I hate this whole format of podcasts. But yeah, not everyone should have a podcast.
What's next? They're going to have a podcast about race wars? Which race is the best? Like, come on, bro. There's no man versus female, bruh. It could be a humans versus aliens, but no man versus female. Because some things that men can do, females can do too. Some things that females can do, men probably can't do it. Some things men can do, females can probably not do it. So you can't really compare the two. We're both human beings. We both breathe the same air, bleed the same blood. Like, come on, bro. The only thing different about us is maybe our hair type and our skin.
Don't just think because you have one good conversation with your homie that you now need this full Joe Rogan podcast setup. No, you don't need that at all. You don't even need a
Leave it to the
podcast,
Discord,
bro. What you
bro.
need is a muzzle. But all that being said, this is going to
What you
wrap
need
up
is
the
a
video.
Discord.
If you
Just
guys
talk
made
in
this
Discord
far,
for
I
like 2
appreciate you.
hours.
Twitch, Cameron, WAK, Discord, link in the description. If you guys enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend you
video.
guys check out my most recent video. It'll be right up here on the screen. All that being said, thank you guys for watching. It's Cameron.
We gonna watch this too.